What's up guys, it's Seth. Today I'm going to be ranking all the sceneries in Clash of Clans. So I just did a review on the newest scenery, the Inferno Town War scenery, and someone pointed out something to me in the comments that I missed. In every single scenery, there's a banana in the scenery. Don't ask me why, but I saw one banana that was under a tent, but I wasn't 100% sure if it was a banana, but this person pointed out that there was another banana which was clearly a half-peeled banana on one of the tables under the bridge. So I just wanted to point that out. Now let's rank the sceneries. There are 7 sceneries, so in 7th place, I'm gonna put the jungle scenery. The jungle scenery is a free scenery that you'll get when you upgrade your town hall to town hall 14, and it just fits the theme of the town hall. Town hall 14 is a jungle themed town hall. This scenery is a cool looking scenery, but it really doesn't have very many unique elements to it. It's basically just a big jungle, and instead of the normal trees like you'll have on your default village scenery, the trees will be more of a jungle theme. There are a couple cool things like some old goblin head statues that are broken off in the forest, but there's really not a ton of elements to this. There's a river, and then there's a bridge going over the river to the right, along with the waterfall, which is in almost every scenery. By the way, I have a playlist linked in the description where I pointed out the Easter eggs in every single scenery. This scenery doesn't have a ton of Easter eggs. There is one cool thing up in the top right. There's a bank that comes down to the river, and on the bank is a canoe with baskets of fruit, but then it goes back into the dark forest, and we have no idea where that goes. But this scenery is in last place, but not a bad scenery considering that it's free. Now in 6th place is one of the fairly new sceneries, Hog Mountain. Hog Mountain is overall a pretty cool scenery. I do like some of the colors. The thing that I don't like about this is there's a ton of dead space where there's really not anything going on. At the very top of the scenery, there's just some empty spots where they could have added some cool things, but they didn't. In the water on the bottom, there's really nothing going on in the water, unlike some other sceneries which you'll see later. But also in the top left, there are some really cool rock structures, but again, I feel like they could have added more things in there. Now this scenery is not a bad scenery, and I do like the hog statues and the dojo up in the top right. There's also another kind of building on the bottom right. I'm not sure exactly what to call that. There were some pretty cool Easter eggs, so make sure you go check out that video after this one. But overall, just not a ton of really cool elements in this scenery. I feel like they could have filled it in a lot more. So now let's move to 5th place. So this is interesting because in 5th place, I'm putting Clashy Construct scenery, but in my last scenery ranking, I actually had this at number 2, and I'll tell you the reason why I moved this down. Now this scenery is a good scenery, and the reason I put it at number 2 last time is because it had a ton of Easter eggs, and it was a pretty cool looking scenery. This scenery has had the most Easter eggs out of all the sceneries, but the reason I decided to move it down is because there's a lot of space in this scenery where it's just trees. And I'm not going to go too hard on the Clash of Clans team because this was their very first scenery that they released, but on the left side there's a lot of space where there's just trees. Now I do really like this scenery, and from now on all these sceneries are really amazing sceneries. I had a really hard time trying to decide where to rank all these sceneries, but if you're going to watch any videos where I pointed out the Easter eggs, go watch this one because this one had a ton of Easter eggs. Up at the top right, it has those giant gears, and they moved the waterfall a little bit, but it has a bunch of houses and stuff where I assume the builders or whoever works at this sawmill kind of place is. I also like how they put the Clockwork Queen down in the bottom right. She's being assembled. This is the only scenery where they actually have a hero skin in the scenery. There's also a giant hole in the bottom right where it looks like it's a quarry. So it's kind of a sawmill slash quarry where they're building things out of rocks and wood. But overall, this is a great scenery. Like I said, tons of Easter eggs, and that's why I like this scenery so much. Now, I had a really tough time ranking these next 3 sceneries, but I decided to put the epic jungle scenery in 4th place. The epic jungle scenery came out when Town Hall 14 released, and unlike the jungle scenery, which you'll get for free, the epic jungle scenery you actually had to buy from the shop. I really like the colors of this scenery. The red and gold kind of reminds me of my favorite skin, which is the warrior queen, there are a ton of really cool elements. You notice the goblin statues, which were also in the jungle scenery, but those were all broken down and laying in the forest. So maybe there's some kind of theory you could make with that. But these goblin statues are in good condition and they have the gems in their eyes and everything. There's a cool marketplace near the bottom, and then there's this giant flight of steps on the right, which if you look at the loading screen on Clash of Clans, you can actually see this scenery in the background and you can see these steps going up to the village. There were some pretty interesting Easter eggs in this scenery. I'm not going to go into details. You can check out that video. But the reason I put this in 4th place, even though this is a great scenery, is because there is some dead space, especially on the top of the scenery and the left of the scenery. There's just some space where I feel like they definitely could have filled it in with some cool elements, but they decided not to. I also really like the green water for this scenery. It matches the town hall perfectly. If you look at town hall 14, there's a green waterfall coming out of it. Overall, I really like the color design of this scenery. If they filled in the dead space, this would be one of the top sceneries in the game. So now in 3rd place is the epic winter scenery. This scenery is really interesting, and it's the only scenery where it actually comes into the home village. You can see the snow overlaps with a lot of the village, which no other scenery ever did. I do like the colors of the scenery. It contrasts from the normal green, which you'll see in most of the sceneries, but there is some mystery about this scenery. Like, what is this purple foggy stuff? It looks like an elixir river or something. The castle on the right is really cool, and if you watch, once in a while you'll see a shadow walking inside the castle. I still am not 100% sure what that is. It kind of looks like a mini P.E.K.K.A or something, but that's a really cool touch. And I love those moving elements that they add to these sceneries where everything is not just perfectly still. There's those little Easter eggs that they add. Overall, I feel like they filled in this scenery pretty well. They have a lot of stuff. Even when there's just trees, they have little buildings and things in there. I really like the bottom left where they have the little village and the half frozen lake. I don't know if these sceneries are ever going to come to the shop for gems. I kind of hope they do, because that way you guys will be able to buy them, because right now they'll only come in the shop once in a while and you have to buy them with money. So this is in 3rd place. Now in 2nd place is the newest scenery, and because there's only one war scenery, I'm just throwing it in with all the others, and it's the Inferno Town war scenery. This was the winner of the very first Supercell Make campaign, and it looks amazing. I really like the design of this scenery. They have the giant P.E.K.K.A statue in the top left and the giant Inferno Tower in the top right. The Inferno Tower is really cool because they added the animation of it turning left and right, and they animated all the fire and everything, which is really nice. In the bottom right, they have another P.E.K.K.A statue, which is kind of the entrance to this building. I'm not sure exactly what this building is, but on the top of it, there's a swimming pool, which may be related to the epic winter scenery, because Clash of Clans posted a picture on their social media when the epic winter scenery came out, and the Barbarian King was going for a swim in the ice cold water. So I don't know if this swimming pool has anything to do with the Barbarian King, but then in the bottom left is kind of like a little army camp or something. Like I said, under the bridge, you can see that famous banana laying on one of the tables. The detail in this scenery is incredible. All the tiny stones and rocks and stuff, it's all incredibly detailed. The lava is not animated, but it still looks amazing. Overall, this is a dark scenery, but I really like the design of this one. So this is in 2nd place. I've set a goal to hit 2,500 subscribers by the end of this year, so if you haven't already, make sure you go down and click that subscribe button. So now my number 1 scenery is the pirate scenery. I've loved the pirate scenery ever since it came out, and I like it because it fits in with the pirate themed skins, but just the overall design I really like. In the top left, they have kind of the village by the lake or the ocean. I'm not sure what it is, but there's some really cool Easter eggs in this scenery. In the top right, they have that giant skull next to the waterfall, and then there's the octopus or squid tentacles wrapped around everything. I'm not sure what that's about. In the bottom right, you have a shipwreck, and then further down there's a castle with cannons, and it looks like a very defensive building. They have the wooden spikes around it and a long path to walk up to it. Another really cool thing that's unique about this scenery is in the bottom left, you'll see the ocean, but if you watch, once in a while there will be 2 sharks that swim up to the surface of the water and their fins will just stick out. That's an incredible touch to the scenery, and I love when they put little animations like this just to bring the scenery to life and add those little Easter eggs that we can look for and appreciate. There are some places where there's just trees, which they could have filled in, but overall this scenery is very complete. They pretty much filled in every spot possible that they could on this scenery, which I really appreciate. I don't know if you guys will agree with this scenery as the number 1, so let me know your list down below in the comments. Click the like button if you enjoyed this video, and don't forget to subscribe for future videos about more sceneries and Easter eggs. But thanks for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.